Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Zero Hangers Trade Target Series, and today we're covering the GWS Giants. Side certainly able to contend with the list they've got at the moment, but would like to find, I think, some pieces as they continue their premiership push. Have done so pretty well over the last few years. You look at guys like Toby Bedford and Jesse Hogan, but there's a lot still to be desired in some areas of their list. And to go through it all today and name 5 trade targets for the Giants is Zero Hanger reporter Aidan Cellini. Aidan, how are you, mate?
Good, thank you, Mitch. Happy to be here.
Lovely, lovely. Let's jump straight into it with the Giants. And similar in our last episode with the Gold Coast Suns, not always a club that's been able to attract talent. A lot of their intake comes often through the draft, and a lot of those draft picks often come after they lose top line players to rival clubs. But tide might be changing for GWS. Preliminary final finish last year, and they might have some wiggle room, and they certainly are building a nice list with some of the players they've got locked away for a long time. The first player we'll kick off with is one who they had a crack at last year. I think there was mutual interest for him to become a Giant, but under contract, some difficulties kept him at the Crows. But this year is a free agent, and it's Elliott Himmelberg.
Yeah, well, obviously younger brother of Harry, kind of plays that forward ruck role, kind of a dual role there, which I think the Giants do need. Briggs has kind of been a revelation in the ruck as a big-bodied player that kind of takes kind of the cake over some other ruckmen in the competition. But they've used Aaron Cadman through that role as kind of a forward ruck. Jake Riccardi kind of pinch hits every now and then as well. I think Himmelberg is kind of more of a staple in that role. Has been used down back as well, kind of like his brother, but I do think he's probably better suited to the forward half. But definitely something that the Giants probably could look at is in terms of one, bolstering their forward line stock, but also two, giving a bit of support for Briggs and maybe other ruckmen that they think is coming through the ranks as well. Yeah,
certainly not a starting player, you'd think, but a Mr. Fix-It type and a good depth option to have, I think, by any means. And as mentioned, he'd be a free agent this year, so won't come at any cost other than how much they want to pay him. And you think that, Adelaide aren't going to be driving his price up too high. I think they were happy to be involved in a trade last year, but they just struggled to bring in some players themselves, the Crows, and probably couldn't quite afford to lose him ahead of this season. So that's probably why he was held at West Lakes for another year. And it's probably could lead to Himmelberg, linking up with his brother, as you mentioned, at the Giants. Next name on our list is kind of the left field. We usually have one left field one in each target series. And this one is no different. Former Essendon captain Dyson Heppell. Just some experience around, maybe if it's whether it's the back line or midfield, but whether they have Callum Ward next year. I'd like to think so after he's putting up 30 and 2 over the weekend, but they might lose a Harry Perryman. And I think there's just some leadership might be needed. They, not to say they have a young side, but I just see Dyson Heppell as a nice little fit for GWS at potentially halfback. And Gold Coast came after him a couple of years ago with a coaching offer as a player and then coach for a couple of years. And I think the exact same probably could be a great offer from the Giants.
Yeah, clearly they're stacked with talent, but I'd love to see someone they bring in for the intangibles, kind of that culture, that leadership role. I'm thinking initially kind of like a Luke Hodge at Brisbane. Now, I know they probably don't have the same credentials as one another, but Heppell has clearly been a stalwart of the Essendon Football Club for so many years. Previous captain there, obviously handed over to Zach Merritt a couple of years ago. And as you mentioned, maybe Harry Perryman may be leaving. Isaac Cumming has been linked to moves to South Australia. Now, whether that goes through or not is a different story. But it does just add maybe another dynamic on field as it would off field, which I think is quite invaluable in today's game. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you do have someone kind of directing and organising the field, and also, in the training scene and stuff like that, I think it's something that definitely the Giants could be looking at going forward.
And he probably offers a nice balance of a bit of run, but also can lock down. And I think, you've got Lockie Ash and Lockie Whitfield who offer some pretty nice run. I like Connor Aidan maybe playing a bit taller than the Smalls, and I think that Dyson Heppell certainly could free him up a little bit, and he could therefore support Sam Taylor and Jack Buckley a little bit more in the air. So, I think just more of a defensive-focused backman that allows Ash and Whitfield to be less accountable. You still want them on their men, but less accountable and able to be in great positions on the transition. I think that's exactly what Dyson Heppell could also offer, as well as a post-careering as an assistant coach. And we'll get into a couple other names who are some of those lockdown medium-sized defenders. But next one on our list is St Kilda forward Tim Membrey. had some time previously in New South Wales, could certainly flirt with the idea of moving back as a depth forward option. We've seen what the Giants have been able to get out of Jesse Hogan in the last couple of seasons, and I think there's still plenty of good football left from Tim Membrey. Just comes to where the Saints kind of view him. He's another one who's unsigned beyond this season, and has fallen in and out of the senior side in 2024.
Yeah, I think especially with the ball movement and the way the Giants want to play, it kind of suits his, I guess, position a little bit better than maybe most key forwards. He definitely plays above his height and his size in terms of who he takes as key defenders. But when you get that orange tsunami at its full flight, you kind of get, a bit of quicker ball movement, more one-on-ones, or a lot more space in the front half, which I think Membrey can benefit from and would benefit from in a I guess, a system like that. And as you mentioned, kind of helping bolster that forward line mix that has Cadman, who is still coming through. Riccardi's kind of finding his feet at the elite level. They've got Krzyzewski, who just debuted as well, but he obviously looks like quite a good player. Maybe in a few years' time, but someone that's kind of for the here and now. I think he's maybe just on the wrong side of 30, that is, but still probably has a few years left where he can contribute at the elite level. Next
two on our list, some smaller defenders who aren't always or haven't been in the senior side throughout this year. First one's St Kilda's Ben Paton. Nice, I think, lockdown defender. Maybe similar to Heppell in the role that he could provide. The backline, unsigned for next season. I don't think we can call him a New South Wales boy, even though he played for Albury. I think he also represented Vic Country. But maybe a move to the Giants could give him a role. See him playing a bit more senior action. And then again, this is another one that if they lose Harry Perryman, they look for that kind of hardened defensive option.
Yeah, I'd love to see them kind of focus on maybe this kind of specialised lockdown defender, small defender role. We know they've got some talent coming off the halfback with their ball use and their drive through Whitfield and Ash, as you have mentioned. Aidan does play tall and small, but sometimes gets caught in between with the real crafty small forwards, which he still does a good job in my opinion. But again, someone that is more specialised to the role, kind of taking down, your Charlie Camerons and, kind of your Graham Myers and the like. They really focus on those type of playmakers in opposition teams. I think Ben Paton can be someone for that type of role.
And another one very similar, and one who hasn't been able to break into Geelong's senior side despite being a member of their 2022 premiership side, is Jed Bews, one who we've also raised previously in our trade target series. He's a free agent and unrestricted as well, which means that no club would have to trade for him. Kind of middling around in their VFL, still putting up some pretty solid numbers, but the Cats have certainly pivoted away from the reliance that they've had on him in years gone by. Still plenty of football, has age on his side and has over the years proven to be a pretty formidable lockdown option.
Yeah, I mean, similar to maybe the Ben Paton and Dyson Heppell roles that we've touched on, someone that comes in and again just assist with locking down those small forward types from the opposition sides. As you said, probably has plenty of football to go. I thought that 2022 year was terribly underrated, but I mean, there's always going to be a few in a premiership winning side. So yeah, definitely has a lot of football in him. Clearly, obviously playing VFL footy at the moment, so he can't crack into that Cat side under Chris Scott. But yeah, definitely a watch, I would think, for GWS if I was part of their list management team to keep an eye on.
That wraps up our trade targets list for the Giants. Our next episode will be covering Hawthorn and their potential targets for the end of this season. Obviously, if you want to catch up on all the latest news, views and opinions on footy, you can head to zerohangout.com.au.